Hi, it's 7th of August, Australian Eastern Standard Time is 12 o'clock. Just having a look at the Australia USD pair and also the Dixie and how that relates to the use of our indicators. So we've got two indicators going here. We've got a time-lagged one. Thickest line is the closest to the current period. It's about 15 periods. It has been normalized, and down below here we've got the irregular liquidity, which is looking at time spreads over a week. So here we can look in the irregular liquidity. We're setting it to days, or if we had 4 hours, 12 hours, or say days, we would set it to weeks to get that normalization. So we can see here that the Australian dollar has had quite a good buy through the period going into some data drop today, and then we can see that it's during that period. It looks like it's sort of got a little bit bearish. If we have a look at that more closely, and we were trading in the 2 hours, we could see that right about here, just before 11:30, we had the buy signal, and I've played that right through to the top, and then I've sold the trade. And although it's very green here, the reason I've sold the trade is if I look at the Dixie has really greened up. So it gave me half of the impetus here to buy the Australian dollar at about that time, just coming through there. We could see it was very red and it was likely to drop, and then it has greened up, and that's made that decision. Now, how I watch that is I use the grouping pairs. So this one at the moment, I've got on here in the time-lagged settings. I've got it set on Dixie pairs, which is the way that I can look at what's happening in all of the different CFDs and futures of the US dollar. And so I've got it set on that, and that's giving me a different. So here I'm looking at the Dixie here, so it's looking very similar, but it's a collation of 8 different Dixie indexes being traded around the world at the moment, and it gives me this we were looking into a very red period, and it was looking very overbought here. It's not the same as an overbought, it is liquidity, but that has allowed me to make a decision that I wanted to back out of the Australian dollar. If I switch back to the Australian dollar, it's giving me the inverse. It's now got quite a lot of good buying on the in this, but that buying might be because it's quite a weak part of the Dixie pair. If the Dixie pair is going well, you've got to consider that the Australian dollar is a much smaller. I think it's only 7% of the Dixie complex. And so I'd like to see a good pullback to about the 50% line. It's nice that you can use both technical analysis and you can use liquidity to show you that there is strong buying there. This might not, it's gone back to the 0.236. It might not go all that way. But I think that while that Dixie is looking really strong, as we can see, it's continuing to be strong here. It's this 50% line is green and buying below, and red and selling above. And we can see in all of these being the time layered here is the individual for this Capital.com CFD that I'm looking at, the US dollar mix. And then this one here, these two down below, they are for that collation of a whole lot of different Dixie pairs. And if I set it to the other side of that, and I set it to FXs on the other side, you'll see it's the opposite of what we're seeing currently in the Dixie. So we can see that this greening up that we have seen, and we have seen the Australian dollar do really well out of over this period here. Now we're starting to see a pullback. There's still buying here, but the Dixie is a stronger buying than the dollar. It's very good to be able to watch both of these at the same time and know that a lot of it is worked over a period of time rather than right at that moment. We also see we've got a bit of a gold breakout there, but we can see here that the Dixie has been very heavy until we've had this little green period here that has dropped in, which is now playing against the Australian dollar. If we go back to the Australian dollar, we can see it really wants to bottom here. It's really dropping into a green area. But as we can see, it sometimes takes, here we can see there was a strong buying period last night during the lit hours in America, but it didn't actually get didn't get the Australian dollar to go anywhere, because there was also some strengthening down here in the Dixie itself. And then it finally broke to the south side. Now, that might not happen today. We can see we've got a little bit of a switch here, but while I'm watching that Dixie, and that Dixie is looking reasonably strong, it started to come out of that position now. It has started to weaken a little bit. Let's see. I would wait till we really had a red section before it had really strongly come out, before I would change my position on the Australian dollar. But the Australian dollar is really starting to fly there. It's got a very strong data set coming out today. Well, it's well worth watching, though. There's a little bit of weakening there. I always, I suppose this wasn't as strong a trade, maybe looking at that, but the strength in the trade was down here in the USD, which in the Dixie, which was what was weak and did support. Now at the moment we've got a little bit of conflation there, and so this is a bit of a sideways movement that I don't like. With this green Dixie. Anyway, I hope that helps you with how I would set up, or how I have been set up today to trade. I've only been trading a small account on this. As I get better at trading the Australian dollar, I'll expand that size. Have a great day's trading, 7th of August.